I began to see through Frank how you really are supposed to live as a Christian man. And then when Frank was diagnosed with cancer, and I saw his faith put to the test and the way that he responded to it, I just, I wanted some of that. I wanted that faith.
A couple of weeks before Frank passed, I came to visit with him down here at his home, just to share some words of kindness and comfort with him. Just started talking with Frank, and before we got into anything too deep, Frank says to me, "Well, how are you doing?"
You would talk to him, and in seconds he would reflect it back on you. How are you doing? Right? How's your family doing? What's going on with your job? What's happening in your life? Your time's limited. The end's coming. He was always, he would accept it, but his faith allowed him to overcome that and again turn it back onto you.
I can't pinpoint exactly when I met Frank. I just know that it began by serving together, because that was at Frank's very core.
He just always seemed to be present. Mm-hmm. And it was like you met him and then you were, in the circle. You were close friends with him.
I met Frank because when we had moved here, we didn't know anybody, and Emily decided to go to confirmation, and we didn't have a sponsor, so Frank and Cindy sponsored our daughter. So that's how we met the Gullos. Of course, Frankie steps in and saves the day.
Right? Saves the day.
That's what he did.
I've been having some issues with a vertigo-like illness, and sometimes I can't drive and sometimes I can, and I literally tripped into the room and tripped over the chair. It was just one of those days. And he was worried about me. He was taking his last breaths on earth, and he was worried about me.
He loved so many people, how he shared that love. He wasn't afraid to hide that from others. When someone's ill or sick or in the hospital and we want to come and share with them, we should share that kind of love that Frank shared at all times, at any times.
I always thought, watching him with his nurses and his doctors, he was never a complainer. Mm-hmm. He was always kind to everybody, to anybody that came in the room. My daughter said, because Frank was never the guy with cancer.
For me, I sort of see him as a hero of mine, in the sense that we all have heroes, like growing up, like Spider-Man or Iron Man or something, but as you get older, what becomes a hero to you evolves, and like my father's a hero of mine. Frank also was a hero of mine, and Frank, we talk about this, but Frank, he was all in. Frank was all in what he did in terms of, all aspects of his life, and he definitely left boldly, no question.
There is no stronger testimony for a Christian man than for him at that time to be concerned about me. And the last thing I said to him, and the last thing he said to me was, "I love you, brother." And I love Frank Gullo. And I just can't imagine what my life, and I can't imagine what hundreds of people, children who he worked with, what their life would have been like, what a gaping hole we would have in our lives if it hadn't been for Frank. Just thank God for Frank Gullo.